Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley.
I'm Brian.
We got some new developments, guys. Microsoft bringing back one of its best-known franchises from the Xbox 360 era. Very exciting.
I know. We're hearing a lot of talk that the recently acquired Playground Games, which is best known for its Forza Horizon series,
Which I love.
Great, is hard at work on a mysterious open-world RPG that a lot of people think might be the next Fable game.
Yeah, it's not that mysterious.
Right.
Xbox boss Phil Spencer didn't outright admit it at E3. He did come close enough that that's the assumption going around, and with very good reason. It's been rumored since what, January?
For a while. There was also an API leak earlier this year that mentioned Fable, and former Lionhead developers also indicated a different UK studio working on a new Fable project.
Well, and then adding to that, here's what's new. Playground Games is hiring a lot of key talent from some very big name studios to make their new project happen, which just shows that Microsoft seems very serious about addressing that whole, Xbox One has no exclusives issue. The acquisition of new studios they announced at E3 was just the start. Now they gotta get those studios pumping out some serious games, and they need some serious talent to go with them.
Gotta get some return on that investment. Lots of people have fond memories of the Fable games, especially the first two. The franchise, though, also pretty famously ran off the rails with a bunch of bad spin-offs, so even though it seems like it could be a slam dunk, also kind of a risky slam dunk.
All right, well, let's be optimistic first. Let's look at take a picture at the kind of new talent that Playground Games is bringing in to work in their newly announced second studio for this project.
We learned this from GamesIndustry.biz, who reported that Playground has hired staff from some very big-name studios, including BioWare, Rocksteady Games, Ninja Theory, Guerrilla Games, as well as EA's Motive Studio.
Among those hired are the principal environment artist Scotty Brown, who's from EA Motive, where he worked on Star Wars Battlefront 2, which, a lot of people will be very worried about that one right out of the gate because of microtransactions, but he's an environment artist, and that game looks real pretty.
Beautiful. The environment wasn't the problem.
Yeah, he also worked at BioWare and Midway Games, so he's got some cred.
Then there's lead environment artist Noel Lukasewicz. He's a BioWare veteran who worked on all 4 Mass Effect titles.
Also had great environments. Then there's narrative director Martin Lancaster from Rocksteady, where he wrote on more recent Batman games like Arkham Knight and Arkham VR.
Also hired lead UI artist Joe McKernan, who is a former Playground staffer. He worked on the first 2 Forza Horizon games. He then left for about 4 years, then worked on a couple little indie games, Horizon Zero Dawn from Guerrilla Games and Destiny 2 at Bungie.
Very indie.
Yes.
They also hired Chris Goodell from Ninja Theory. He'll be principal animator at Playground Games, and his portfolio includes Enslaved Odyssey of the West, Devil May Cry, but also Hellblade, which got a lot of credit last year for doing a whole lot with a small team.
Also hired was lead technician Rob Dendecker from Ninja Theory, and a number of other studios he's worked at include Natural Motion, Microsoft, Lionhead, and Testology.
So we do have a Lionheader.
That's right. He tested a bunch of games, including Fable, Fable 2, Little Big Planet, and Forza Horizon 2.
So all interesting hires, especially, in my opinion, the environment artists and the games that they worked on, because Mass Effect, Battlefront 2, say what you will about those games, they had their problems, but there's some very impressive games from a graphical standpoint, which is what these guys would be behind.
Plus, the narrative director of some of the Arkham games, that's a nice addition too. While none of these are exactly similar to Fable, it's a lot more fantasy heavy, obviously, still some overlap there. You could still see some skills translating pretty easily.
Well, they'd have to do some skill translations with the entire studio,
Yes.
given the games they worked on previously anyway.
Nobody's driving cars in Fable.
Unlikely, unless this is a real weird reboot.
Final Fantasy 15, though.
That's
They
true.
did it.
They did do that. Studio director Gavin Rayburn was quoted as talking about the new hires, saying, "We continue to attract world-class talent from around the world thanks to our exciting projects and the passion of our team. It's been a fantastic start for our second studio, and I look forward to seeing it continue to grow over the coming months."
Back when Microsoft announced that it was acquiring Playground Games, its creative director, Ralph Fulton, said that it would open up new opportunities for the studio.
Well, specifically, he said, "We want to make the best games. We want to reach the biggest audiences. Xbox enables us to do that, and I think we can do that more and be even more successful as part of the family and as part of Xbox."
Now, obviously, if we could drill into that a little bit, he's not talking about a specific game there, and Playground has been very tight-lipped about what they're working on, but they've been advertising for positions working on a AAA RPG.
Yeah, and there have been rumors for a while now Microsoft specifically tapped Playground Games to make the next Fable game, supposedly being inspired after the success of Horizon Zero Dawn, which was a huge hit, new IP for Sony. It can be done, and it was also a change for that studio.
Right, for Guerrilla, from Killzone to that's a big switch. At first glance, Playground Games seems like a weird fit to work on Fable. Their big franchise, Forza Horizon, is a racing game, but once you break down a lot of the different elements in the Forza Horizon games, you start to see ingredients they might be able to make work in a game like Fable.
All right, so if I may nerd for a
yes,
moment, Forza Horizon, it's known for this expansive open world, covers all kinds of different terrain. You just happen across something fun to do as you're exploring, as you're driving around. It could be a time trial, it could be a stunt challenge, it could be something generated by the community that was then propagated out over Xbox Live into other players' games. Basically, anytime you're playing that game, something cool could happen at any moment.
And then sometimes those fun stunts come to you, like a car drives past you, get a challenge, suddenly you're in a race. Those kinds of activities, they don't exactly replace the larger focus on racing and progressing through to new venues, vehicles, and so on, but they do ensure you're never left bored in the world. That could work with Fable.
Yeah, it was a really cool idea for this open world racing concept, and a lot of the philosophy they put into Forza Horizon could be twisted pretty neatly into an RPG like Fable. Just turn it into bandit attacks, chicken-based challenges, because Fable loves those. You could, still races. You know what? Carriage races, horse races, whatever. Those happen in everything. Look at Red Dead Redemption. And then that could be further built on with Fable's morality system, where you can add in additional ingredients.
And if Guerrilla Games putting out Horizon Zero Dawn proves anything, like we said, it's that a studio can really excel outside the genre they're known for. They might even be stoked to work on something different.
Yeah, you don't want to work on the same thing forever and ever and ever.
Exactly.
They could be stretching their creative muscles. I mean, if anything, it could be the Fable franchise that's the challenge. It's still really recognizable for gamers who've been playing for several console generations, but the last main entry in the series, Fable 3, released in 2010, and even that wasn't considered the height of the franchise. If anything, a lot of Fable fans considered that one to be a disappointment, and then it went downhill from there.
That game was known, Fable 3 we're talking about, was known for trying to fix issues that weren't really issues, with this weird, very Molyneux focus on touch as a way characters in the game bond.
He got really into that. He was all about the power of touch.
That's what happens when you do ecstasy.
Maybe.
Yeah. And it went so far as trying to simplify and streamline a lot of the RPG elements that there was really no challenge to be had. That's not good for an RPG.
If I recall correctly, it was almost impossible to die at some points. On the flip side, though, you did get John Cleese as your butler, so there was that.
There's that. Actually, that game had some stellar voice talent. Ben Kingsley, Stephen Fry, Simon Pegg, Naomi Harris, Michael Fassbender, Bernard Hill, Nicholas Hoult.
Where did they get all these people?
That's insane.
Did they just call every British star and be like, lend us your voice for a couple minutes? And they were like, yeah, cool. I want to know where David Tennant was. Where was his invite?
That's where all the money went to. Ricky Gervais is going to be in this one.
Well, unfortunately, though, having a bunch of really famous voices didn't guarantee the game a warm reception, and even the cheeky humor didn't get it further than mildly warm. Full disclosure, I still liked it. I thought it was fun, recognized I had a lot of faults, but I played through it, I enjoyed it, and I would still like more Fable.
Fable 3 being lackluster, that's not exactly a sign of death, but since that game, there's been Fable Coin Golf, which was a Windows Phone game where you beat evil with golf.
Yeah.
Which is not
I guess.
A game.
There was Fable Heroes. It was this cartoony beat-em-up game. It had absolutely no reason to be a Fable game. It used Fable Heroes and all that, but beyond that, why?
Oh, don't forget Fable The Journey, which might almost have been a good call, except it was tied to Connect, which gamers were still not really warming up to, so even though it got some nods, a solid motion control game, no one really played it to get the meat of the story.
Which is unfortunate because, I'm not blaming anyone for not playing a Kinect game, but it did have some nice story elements there for you, if you could work all the way through the motion stuff. But there was the ill-fated Fable Legends, which was going to be an asymmetrical multiplayer game where 4 people would play heroes, and then there would be one villain who'd command an army of creatures to oppose them. That game made the mistake, it probably made a lot of mistakes. One of them was falling behind the curve on asymmetrical games, which tended to, they kind of fell out of favor pretty quickly when titles like Evolve didn't take off the way that everyone in the industry thought they were going to. They did see a bit of a resurgence recently with there's games like Friday the 13th.
good.
And they've been tried by some bigger franchises too, Watch Dogs, but there hasn't been a huge breakout. Like, oh god, asymmetrical multiplayer is here to stay.
It's arrived.
Yeah.
The Fortnite of asymmetrical game.
I mean, mind you, it made some other mistakes as well, but RIP.
And because the franchise still hadn't suffered enough with a bunch of unremarkable games.
And a cancellation.
We're forgetting about Fable Fortune. Not a bad game by any means. Actually fairly well received, but it was dropped with barely any fanfare into a market dominated by games like Hearthstone. The Gwent spinoff from The Witcher. That got way more fanfare and attention.
Most people didn't even hear that this game came out.
This is the first I'm hearing about, and I love collectible card games.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people didn't hear about
I'm the market, no idea until I'm reading this right now.
Yeah, and so all that culminates with this franchise is very damaged by a lot of lackluster games. It's like they put Fable on a bunch of games hoping that the Fable franchise would make those games sell. It didn't, and then damaged the franchise as a result. So now, what is Fable worth? That's a big problem that they need to address. And they're dealing with not only that, but also a big studio shift.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge risk with games.
In this case, we're looking at Fable without Lionhead, without Peter Molyneux, so there'll be a lot of question marks as to what type of game Playground would make. Would they be able to nail the cheeky humor with the same flair? Will you be able to get venereal diseases, or have babies, or marry a dozen different people?
The big questions.
Very
will you be
important.
able to get venereal diseases?
Right. How will they deal with the franchise's traditional good versus evil, be whatever you want shtick? Although we've seen games like Doom, Bethesda took a hold of it, did a fucking great job.
Yeah, sometimes a studio shift can be a good thing, but it is for sure a risk.
Yes.
I think that it seems like Playground is putting together a pretty solid team with a lot of good experience, and they could take this and they could make it into something really wonderful. I don't think it's going to be the same Fable. I think that no matter what they do, if they just tried to emulate the exact same formula, it would probably come off as try hard, not quite nailing it. There's something about Peter Molyneux. He's widely known throughout the industry as being very ambitious and talking about all these things that then he can't technically deliver on, but he is ambitious. He always tries like these new crazy things, even then we make fun of them for being so weird. But there's something that's really difficult to describe that carries across all of the Molyneux game projects. Not like the new ones. I didn't play Goddess or anything, but the old school ones like Black and White and everything.
Populous before that. Just real epic shit. God building, world. I don't know.
There's this element, this ingredient that just, it won't be there, and it'll be hard to nail down exactly what it is. And you know what? Sometimes the Molyneux stuff works out great. I liked the dog in Fable. I thought he was great.
Well, sometimes just
he's a good boy.
And a change of scenery. I mean, new developer, fresh set of eyes on it. Maybe they were fans of the original. Plus, like we were saying, just the chance to work on something different other than a Forza Horizon game. It could work out. It could be something like totally fresh. Microsoft would totally be stoked if they had like a big name exclusive like this.
Yeah, my hope is very much for an open world style RPG where you can do the good thing, you can do the evil thing, you can tackle different quests based on sort of what kind of character you want to be, and then go and do a bunch of ridiculous stuff. I think there needs to be just a little bit of that ridiculous element in there. It can't take itself too seriously. Fable never has.
Yeah, not just another game with Fable on it.
So that's what it's gonna. No, not just another like, hey, we made it and then it doesn't have anything to do with Fable, but we put the Fable name on it anyway.
Yeah, it gets too big, like the NWO back in the day in wrestling. They just let too many guys join and then it sucked.
Be focused, all right?
Be focused.
Right. That's what I want out of an upcoming Fable game. What do you want out of an upcoming Fable game? What do you want Playground Games to nail? Let us know in the comments down below.
And for all your news from every corner of the internet, all your Fable news, we'll keep you up to speed like this internet.
Like this internet.
And for all your Fable news, like this video, subscribe to the know.
Trust me, we will keep you posted because I'm going to be following this like a hawk.
For life.
For life?
It's an NWO reference. It's very stupid. Only nerdy wrestling fans will get it.
For life.
Well as EA's Motive Studio.
Among those hired are the principal